Legacy in Motion is brought to you by Bina Pavo, your sustainability, our business. Sunway Business School, fortune favors the prepared mind.
Hi, welcome to Legacy in Motion. I am Dr. Jesrina.
And I'm Dr. Leilanie, and today we have a very special guest all the way from Shah Alam. We have Puan Firdaus Hussamuddin, the Group Chairman of Kumpulan Karangkraf. So Fir, if I may address you as that, Fir, can you share a little bit about yourself, Karangkraf, and how it came about to what it is today?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Dr. Leilanie and Dr. Jesrina. I'm very honored to be here today. So basically, I've been with Karangkraf for 20 years already, and I started at the lowest point where actually I do a lot of labor work. I do a lot of labor work, and I actually go and engage with customers, and I sell the magazines and the books at the LRT stations, bus stations, and so on, until I learned all the management skills and until now. Okay, for information, Karangkraf has been around for the past 47 years. So we started as, we sell book first, actually education book, but then we started heavily into magazines. We are the biggest magazine publisher back then, with about 38 titles for kids like Bintang Kecil, Remaja, Nona, Minggu Wanita, and so on. So actually basically all ranges lah. And then we also have our printer. We are the largest commercial printer in Malaysia, which is called Ultimate Print. And later on we venture into newspaper, which is called Sinar Harian, which Sinar Harian has been around for the past 19 years plus. It's actually the only newspaper which is neutral, and it's independent. It's independent. Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
Okay, so
And just would like to know, how was the legacy transfer at Karangkraf, and what was the processes that you went through, and you want to share some interesting stories with us?
Okay. Karangkraf is actually founded by three persons, which is Datuk Hussamuddin, his brother Arwah Datuk Fikri, and also his cousin Datuk Nasir. So there are three of them, but Datuk Hussamuddin being the biggest shareholder, and he was the managing director at that time. So they have been running the company together for the past 47 years. But Arwah Datuk Fikri is more into journalism, so he focused a lot more on writing, content, that sort of thing. Whereas Datuk Nasir, I think he focused more on the distribution, logistics, and PR works. But Datuk Hussamuddin is the strategist or the mastermind behind all the publications. So the three of them has been running the company for 47 years. Then actually the second generations came over. So which is actually myself, my sister Farah, and then my other cousins like Shamil, Akmal, and the rest. But the transformation actually started to take place about maybe 10 years ago. 10 years ago, where we were actually, the second generations, we have to focus in the department and actually and we have to do transformation.
so each one of you had to be in different divisions?
Different divisions.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in different divisions. So whereas like my cousin, actually he took the printing department, I took the books division. But previously I was from the magazine, but they rotated, they shuffle. So until all of us actually hold one division each. So I think the leadership starts then. While we were running the company, we were mentoring by our seniors. Yeah. When they actually mentor us, so we run the operations. We actually learn through the hard ways, and we went through hardship, and of course a lot of challenges, and a lot of sometimes miscommunication, that sort of thing. But Alhamdulillah, I think we are still here today after 47 years with the guidance of our elderlies. Yeah.
Now I was made to understand there's already a successful transition or succession from the first generation to the second generation. Jadi perhaps Fir, you can share with us what was the process like, and how was it for you? Yeah, especially for you because you are now the group chairman. The responsibility is on your shoulders together with your other siblings and cousins. But what was it for you? Yeah.
Okay, I think first of all, because we were taught to be disciplined. The first thing that my big boss told me actually is to come early to work. So I think we have to be the first one to arrive and the last one to leave. So if you are sick but you can still walk, you can still do stuff, it's better that you walk. I mean, you come to office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I think first of all it's discipline. Secondly, because like whenever we receive a lot of like marah-marah,
Yeah, okay.
But actually,
Siapa yang marah?
our big boss
elderlies.
lah, the elders
Okay.
the big boss lah. But I think we have to take it positively.
Right.
So I think your own attitude also plays a big role lah, basically to accept accept critics.
Betul.
But then you have to be more focused, tapi you have to be positive so that you can actually learn to be better. Yeah.
Because what we hear out there, right? A lot of people are saying that when it comes to family members being involved in business, it's so challenging because, as you said, your elderly wants you to be the first in the office, the last to leave the office. Kalau sakit datang, kalau boleh jalan datang. So that, as you said, it takes a lot of discipline. But we hear a lot of stories out there, which is it's very challenging for families. So how perhaps other than discipline, what other values or characteristics or traits that you need to have in order to uphold those mandate lah, those requirements for the elderlies?
If I can add, and also being a woman in this family business. So, just to explain that.
Okay. Actually, being a woman, especially when you're a mother, when you're a wife, when you are someone's daughter, that sort of thing. So it takes a lot of courage, a lot of effort, a lot of discipline, so that you can actually organize your life. So of course, family is number one. It's always number one, no matter how, But there's a big responsibility at the back of your mind. So you have to actually organize your life, know what's your priority. But at the same time, you have to. But I think moms are superwoman.
Oh yes,
mothers are superwoman.
Well,
Macam mana pun you have to be multitasking, multitask. That's why if a woman who has 10 children, I think she can manage. But if the mom is not there, the father handles 10 children, I think he will go kaput. You know that kind of thing?
Tengah balik rumah.
So that's why I think mothers can always juggle the time very well. And then, but of course, when you juggle, you have to be rewarded lah by all this with your superior, your boss, or your husbands, or your families. So working with siblings or working with cousins actually is very difficult. But one thing that holds us together is because we know we are a family. That's when you know that you are a family and you know that the continuity of the business is very important. That's why you have to actually, no matter what are your differences, you have to try to work it out. You work it out because there's only one goal that you want to achieve, to make the company relevant and stay sustainability for the longest time lah, basically. Yeah.
Basically giving to the next generation so they can take it. And,
True.
Oh, awesome. And so taking on this leadership comes with a unique expectation, especially in this changing times, from what you were previously and what it is now, especially with digitalization and all that. So in moving towards digitalization, what was your first few challenges that you faced?
Okay, I think the first few challenges that I faced was actually rejection by the older staff. Because older staff, because they have been around the company longer than I was, So, and they have been following the big boss's style from the longest time. So when you come in, you come with a different mindset. You know, when you come in a different mindset, you're young, you're energetic, that sort of thing, you want to do things differently. So definitely there'll be a rejection from the older staff. But I think it's actually how you tackle their hearts.
Right.
So it's not just about work. I think because work is quite easy. You know, if you can manage people's heart, you get their trust, then only they will actually believe in you and they will try and work with you. Yeah. So it was very, very difficult at first, but I think because of when I came there, I did a lot of walkabout. I think because I know the style of my big boss. He does a lot of walkabout in the office. That's why even though he's at the top, being number one, but he walks around every day. He walks around to the store, to the machine area, that sort of thing, and he talks to people. And that's why when he talks to all his people, sometimes he knows every single person, and he knows what are their problems and what are things they should improve, that sort of thing. And from there, I copy. So I copied. So I was like, because I was being rejected at first, of course, naturally. But I learned to be like, I'm like, hey, I cannot have senior management come to my office. But I should be the one who goes down to the ground.
Right.
So I started my walkabout. You know, it was awkward, weird, but I actually did that. It means I go to the store, I talk to all the store people, you know, to the lorry drivers. So then I started to tell them if I reject certain things, I sit down with them and tell them this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Not just tell them, hey, this is wrong. Don't do. Of course they'll be like clueless, you know, what to do, that sort of thing. But once you actually sit down with them, you tell them, no, can we do it differently? Can we do it differently? I will tell them, you know what, this is good, but can we change it to different? You know, it's the art of how you talk. Yeah. So when you do that, then they follow and then they see the result.
Right.
And because of that walkabout and grounding and you know that sort of thing, I started to realize that I know everyone's name.
Wow.
So even though they are lorry drivers, I know their name. So I can have 200 staff, 300 staff, 500 staff, I know all their names.
Amazing.
I think that's why, one of the reasons why I think we gain the trust from the people, especially at that time we used to have reporters, we used to have editors, we have graphic designers, but because I know all of their names, that makes a lot different.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then maybe another thing, because when you tell them, you give them direction, but you don't expect them to, they don't even know, because you tell them to do certain things, but you don't tell them how to do it.
Right.
But if you tell them how to do it, then if the instruction is very clear, they will follow. But a lot of times, bosses fail because sometimes they don't even know what they want at the end of the day. You know? So that's why lah. Yeah.
I do agree on that, because I think with leadership, there should be a huge sense of clarity.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
if the leaders are not clear, like Fear is clear, so therefore her staff are going to be clear as well. So I think that is really good. Nuanced knowledge, I think, here that we can find.
So Phil, if I can ask, you know, you basically grew up, in Karangkraf, and having to see it grow from what it was, you know, I was made to understand a small shop lot, and then you had the Shah Alam punya compound kan, but I think about 10-15 years ago it expanded to a huge building, you know, and as you're walking and doing the walkabout today, can you share with us what comes to your mind, the reflection that you have, you know, as you're walking around doing that?
Okay, actually, even though you said just now, I see the thing expand.
Yeah.
But actually, within that 20 years, I saw the thing went down. Because when our magazines, I think about, we closed our magazines during COVID time.
Okay.
So we lost all our income during that time.
On the magazine
On the
punya
magazine division,
Okay,
yes,
alright.
on the magazine division. But actually at that time, our highest income actually come from the magazine. So I saw the thing went up, but I saw the thing went down. So that's why it needs a lot of pivoting. And to stay, like I said, the company must stay profitable. So we pivoted and we transform. So we know that we lose one thing, but we have to actually make another thing, we have to come up with a new idea lah, basically.
Yeah.
So so when we pivot, we have to see what are the things within us that we can make money. So for example, when we are a book publisher, so instead of we were stressful because of the magazine went down, that sort of thing, I think we should see what are the things, the opportunity that we can do to make money. So that's why we turn into rebuilding. I think the word is actually rebuilding the company back by going into developing the books, where we put heavily on R&D. Then we developed the Al-Quran until our Quran became number one in Malaysia. Yeah, so it's actually, you have to see as a whole, in the bird's eye view, not just within your own territory.
Correct.
Yeah.
So going back to my question, your emotion, your feeling, you see it go up, yet it comes down again, and now it's going up again.
Yeah.
So going back to the heart,
Okay.
your heart,
Okay.
your feelings,
Okay.
seeing all that. Yeah.
My feeling honestly is scary lah. It's
Scary.
very scary. It's
Okay.
scary. It's normal to feel scared. But I think when you love something, but the thing doesn't make money, kill it.
Right.
You know?
It's like knowing when to leave.
Yeah,
the right
that
time
kind of
to
thing.
leave,
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of emotion, memang it's like roller coaster lah. You are on a roller coaster ride. You always macam, because kalau you turun pun you mati.
Right.
Right? You turun pun you mati. That kind
Correct.
of thing. So you you already up there. It's either you go down, you mati, you terbang, lompat pun mati juga. Anyway.
So it's just better tutup je lah kan.
Macam like that kan. So that's why you have to actually in terms of emotion tu, kadang-kadang I think as a woman lagi lah, is vulnerable.
Correct.
But kadang-kadang you kena berpijak di bumi yang nyata. Means you have to actually stay
Face the facts,
grounded,
yeah,
face the fact.
Correct.
Then you realize if it's not profitable, close it. You shouldn't have any. I used to be emotional for the first 10 years of my life, my working life. Okay, but then I think after 10 years, I became more tough. I can say because it builds your character better, and you are more resilient and resistant. So until when you went down, you are desperate. But sometimes because you are desperate, you jadi like be creative.
Correct.
You become more creative because people will think like, people say macam, why you want to do book business? It's a sunset industry. Nobody wants to read book. Nobody wants to, no children will read books.
Yeah.
But actually, because how you turn the opportunity to, you see what are the problems now. Kids only, yes, everybody hold their gadget. Even children also hold their gadget.
Right.
But when the children hold their gadget, they only watch cartoon or comics or playing some interactive things, but they don't read books. That's why I think these are the problems that the parents are facing. That's why we still create books. So that when you bring books home to your family or to your kids, I think it's more at the personal time,
Right.
So we create, we know the problem, so we know that is the solution by having your children to read books.
Correct.
Yeah.
Back then when we were younger, we used to have what we call this bedtime stories, kan?
Yes.
So nowadays, maybe with the younger generation, doesn't happen as often, right?
No.
So I believe your books, is going to does make that happen.
Yes.
Continue to have that, kan?
Yeah.
Bedtime stories dengan anak-anak.
Yeah.
What I gather from what Fear is saying is that every challenge can be turned into an opportunity.
Yes.
And here she has pivoted and created the opportunities
Correct.
through this that she has pivoted. That's amazing.
So Fear, just now you were talking about working with cousins.
Yeah.
Can be difficult, but also very fulfilling. You know what your goals are together. How does the cousins come together? I mean, right now, the full transition from the first to the second generation. So all the second generation is already taking charge. So how do you continue to have orang Melayu kata muafakat the
Harmony.
muafakat, the togetherness, the harmony. How do you maintain that and get people to always come together and knowing what the goal is?
I think You have to be humble, humble, you know, because a lot of youngsters, they always think dia lah paling pandai, you know, dia lah paling bijak. CGPA 4 pointer, you know, that kind of thing. But honestly, if you CGPA 4 point pun, when you tak ada adab, it's you know nothing. Yeah, it means nothing. So that's why for me, you can be intelligent, tapi sometimes your adab plays an important role. It's actually how you speak to your elderly, you know, how you communicate with people, to your staff. Some people, they are very rude towards the lorry drivers. I think you shouldn't. You know, that kind of thing. That's why I think Karangkraf, we are filled with values. Memang we diajar untuk berkas all this nilai-nilai moral yang murni, that sort of thing. We were taught that, you know, means to be honest, to be on time, to be humble, to be gentle, that kind of thing, to be sincere. So working with cousins ni can be challenging, but to maintain the harmony is actually you have to respect each other's strength and weaknesses, because I think not everyone's perfect.
Right.
Yeah, so there are certain people memang pandai tapi tak pandai manage people, you know. Tapi some people, she's maybe creative, but certain aspect pengurusan, she's not that. So that's why kadang-kadang you have to actually work together and find your strength and your weaknesses. And then, like I told you, like when it's a family, I think the trust is more compared to you hire some external party lah. Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of values that we are looking at, and that's good, because I think that helps with the transition, helps with future transitions as well. And just was wondering if you could share an interesting pivotal moment or decision that you made that probably you thought it was a bit of a risk for the company, in order for you to stay relevant, because we talked about books and all that. And if there was any learning experience that emerged from that.
I think the hardest point when it was during the COVID time. During COVID, because we have been a book publisher for 27 years. But because we know at that time, during COVID, we cannot do anything, you know. So we actually stopped fully our publication. We stopped, means we did not publish any books, you know, means actually it's loss of income.
Yeah.
But even the people even our editors who are actually editors for books, they stopped their work. But we still pay their salary, you know. So what we did was we actually focused on the Al-Quran publishing. So I think because during COVID, a lot of people actually turns to religion.
Correct.
You know, so a lot of the Muslims, you know, read back the Al-Quran. So then we know that we have to create something to a program. That's why I think there's a group, Yayasan Warisat My Class, they actually started the program called My Quran Time, and it was on air in the free TV. Yeah, I think in TV Hijrah, that sort of thing. So it was like on air during COVID. So I think a lot of people actually watch TV because they don't have other things to do. So they watch TV to learn Al-Quran, and besides that, they actually bought our Quran. So they watch and also they bought Al-Quran. So a lot of people actually khatam lah Quran. Khatam means habis baca all the Al-Quran lah. So since COVID time, suddenly all our Quran pick up the sales. So sometimes there are certain Quran we can't really sell like after, you know, like say if you print 10,000, it takes maybe like 1 year to finish the whole stock. But because during COVID, I think it was in 2 months it was
Finished.
sold off, that kind of thing. So our Quran became number one like within COVID time. So people hate COVID, but for me, it's a blessing in disguise for us. So sometimes you stop something, it doesn't just stop there. Then you have to do other things. But of course, when COVID ends, we start back the book division. So it's really, you know, parallel lah.
I think one of the things that I noticed with Karangkraf, and I believe with all publication agencies or companies, kan, not only COVID hit them bad, but also digitalization.
Yes.
Right? Right? Yeah, the fact that so for those in such a business in industry, COVID and digitalization came about the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, digitalization was much earlier, but in order to support COVID, you need to be digitized.
Exactly,
kan?
exactly.
Kan?
Yeah,
You
okay.
need to kan. Jadi, maybe my question is, how did you get the employees, the staff, the team to be, how did you prepare them perhaps pre-COVID? That means your digitalization transformation, I'm sure it happened even before COVID, but how did it continue to escalate, and how did you get the entire Karangkraf to be on board with it?
Okay. So basically, we went through digital disruption. Okay. I think that's why the digital actually killed all our magazines and
Yeah.
our magazines. But like I said, we pivot. Means all our books previously on physical copies, but I think about 10 years ago, we convert everything into digital. Yeah, so when we convert everything to digital, but because we know at least if they can't buy the books, they can still read the digital. So of course you have to have a town hall. I think with your staff to tell them, this is what you're going through. If you don't move to digital, you're gonna die, that sort of thing. But whoever choose to stay with us must actually embrace technology.
Right.
That's a must.
Okay.
So doesn't matter you're young, you're old, because I know there's a lot of older people also can use iPhone, can use Samsung or other brands. So if you can embrace technology, yes, you can be here. But if you cannot do digital, it is advisable for you to do other things. So that's why at that time, but you know what? Most of them stayed. Yeah, so most of them stayed, and they actually, because they know they have to survive. Because if you are still Gen Z, when you are 20 years old, it's easier for you to get a job anywhere. But when you are 35, who wants to take you working? Getting
Correct.
right. It's not easy to get a job out other place unless you are very very good lah. So what we did was we actually convert a lot of our things, and we have to do it digital. Means like the system, we migrated our system, we do e-books, we do e-publishing. Then we started to invest in this platform called Ukbi, where if you want to read your magazines or book, you should download Ukbi, ukbi.my, ookbee.my. So when you download, so at least we know people will still read, but it's gonna still be lesser lah. It's gonna be lesser.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yes.
And how did all this, right? These changes, and of course, there's a lot of the staff acceptance and all that. How did this change the structure of Karangkraf?
Okay, one thing through digital, you can actually minimize, and some jobs are redundant, but some jobs can be more. For example, if you're a reporter, last time when you go to do an interview, it's just going to be, when you ask the person, you're just going to write. But I think with digital, it's not just that. The reporter has to take video at the same time. The reporter must tweet at the same time. The reporter must take your picture to do Instagram at the same time. So actually more work. Yeah, it's actually more work. So, but I think only the hardcore reporter can survive. Because if you can't do that, means you have to jual nasi lemak lah. You know that kind of thing, right?
Yes, correct.
You have to jual nasi lemak. Tapi if you can embrace that, then take up the challenge, even though you have to do more, but in order to survive, memang you need to do more pun. So memang no choice lah. Then you do lah. Right? Yeah.
Correct.
Because I think the reading habits is still there, but it's just the matter of which platform. It can be books, it can be on your TV, it can be on your tab. So it can be just anything. Yeah, as long you provide the content, the right content, so that people still read. Yeah.
Okay. Phil, when I was growing up, one of the magazines that I always pick from the newsstand is Majalah Remaja.
Yeah.
I think I have.
I think it's all every teen's dream.
Yes. So teenager kena pick up the majalah remaja. So now there's no longer majalah remaja, as I understand. All your magazines has been. But have you perhaps you can share? Have you started on having programs related to the main topic of the majalah? I know you've got Impiana and stuff like that. Kan? Any of the program, Ma and Pa is a very popular magazine. Kan? So how has it? Now that it's no longer in majalah form, physical form, what is Karangkraf doing in order to continue to engage with the community and leadership?
For that part, our magazine division, we have actually JV with Astro.
Okay.
I think because Astro needs us, we also need Astro, so that's why there comes a JV.
Right.
So a lot of the content from the Remaja magazine, our Nona magazine, we actually do a lot of production for Astro.
Right.
So now you can see Hero Remaja on TV. You can see Pa Emma and content in Astro. Or even Astro, they have the social media, right? The Gempa. So you can see a lot of the contents which we archived long time ago. Sometimes they can, because it's actually all, even their old articles, they are still relevant because Pa Emma is about parenting.
Right.
So when you say parenting, all parents are the same. Doesn't matter you parents zaman dulu or parents zaman sekarang. How you give susu to the baby is the same. There's no other just bagi susu ikut lain. There's nothing. So we use the content to make to a TV production.
Okay. So in terms of which cousin that that looks into which division, how did you all identify which cousin heads which division?
I think we have to identify what are their strengths first.
Correct.
My cousin who heads that division is Shamil Fahim. He has been in Karangkraf, I think more than 27 years. I think it's about that. 25 years maybe. So he's more experienced, more tech savvy, and he's very knowledgeable. So that's why I think he was chosen for that that division lah, basically.
Okay.
So if, like I said, we see the where they are strong at. So there's one more cousin, Azizi. If he's more technical. He has some accounting background. So he's more production. That's why we put him in Ultimate Print. So we see where they are the strengths and we put them according to their strengths.
Right.
Right.
So maybe we can have two more questions. And maybe I'll ask the interesting one, which is, as someone who is steeped in storytelling and books and knowledge sharing, is there a book or an article or a piece from Karangkraf that personally touched you, inspired you in any way, and maybe you want to share that with us?
Actually there's a lot of books because when I was young, my father brought me a lot of books. Even though when I was 7 years old, he gave me some management books to read. So when you were like only at standard 4, you were given management books. I was like, what is this? Why do you have to read all this kind of book? I don't understand. Then he's like, no, you have to read it. So pengurusan, pengurusan lah. Then some, I don't know, but it's all those.
Started really young.
I think the core of it is reading. That practice of membaca kan.
So and also reading on management.
On management. When I was like standard 4.
Correct.
So he brought books and I was like, why don't you read? But then I read lah. But I don't understand anything. But I still read, So if you say what one article or books, I don't have any specific ones. Because I think there's a lot of books that I read, a lot of articles or even newspaper, because in my parents' house, every day he will subscribe. Last time, he will subscribe like 4 or 5 surat khabar in a day. So when we have breakfast in a day, memang we read the newspaper. Even until now pun, when there's not many physical papers anymore, but definitely there are 3 papers there or 2 papers there. Sinar Harian and The Star, and also last time Berita Harian or Utusan, that sort of thing. So every day we read everything. I read everything, you know. So even at the billboard I read, you know, when you're driving you see everything also you read. And I think because of that, but now I think what inspires me is actually because of all these TikToks. Because I see a lot of the youngsters, they start their business young, and there are a lot of rich Gen Zs,
Okay,
you know?
right,
Yeah, so it means they are actually young but they can make a lot of money. So I think that inspires me. I'm like, oh my God, they are young but they can make money and they can, you know, last long. If we in the business for this long, to maintain it, but we have to be more creative or more adventurous than them lah. So it's like a challenge to me lah. So I'm like, okay, so I'm inspired, but I have to also sustain, you know, that kind of thing.
So that brings me to a question.
Yeah.
Because TikTok is especially this Gen Z, this rich Gen Zs who gets into TikTok ni kan, they become rich because they get into TikTok. But at the same time, what Karangkraf is doing is also untuk memupuk this disiplin membaca. This reading habit.
Reading habit.
So in your opinion, as we move forward, 2025, 2030, 2050, how do you see this culture of reading to continue to impact the younger generation?
Okay, that's a bit tricky question because sometimes I also get distracted by
Correct.
TikToks. No, I'm reading a book because I like to read novels.
Yeah.
You know, I read, but when ting, you know, then you see TikTok and then you end up watching TikTok for 1 hour. So actually, my biggest competitor is not actually other book publishers, but it's actually TikToks, Facebooks, this sort of thing. So these are challenges. But like I said, maybe that's why I think we have to understand why people still read novels.
Right.
You know, because sometimes I think we have to encourage our, like, say, children, because when they see TikToks, they don't understand the whole movie. Or, you know, if last time we have last time we used to have this Care Bears lah, you know, Care Bears lah, Tarzan, Jam, that sort of thing. But because we follow all their 16 episodes or, you know, 30 episodes, that sort of thing, and we know the plot, the characters, we understand the story, why it's like this, why it's like that.
Right.
But when you only see snippets in TikToks, you never get the whole picture.
Correct.
You know, that's why I think we have to still encourage our children to read books. Like, say, for example, if you don't like thick novels, you just go for smaller, cheaper, for more less thicker novels, so that you understand the whole story. Same, like, that's why it's good to watch the whole movie, because you understand actually behind the movie there's always like maksud tersirat and tersurat, you know. So you understand the character, then you are inspired. Even if you watch Mak Kilau also, you know, you'll be inspired at least, you know.
Exactly.
You'll be inspired to be like a Mat Kilau who actually protect Malaysia. There's a patriotism, you know, that kind of thing. But when you only TikTok, you know, what message you're sending there, you know.
The learning behind it.
Yes, the learning behind it. That's why I think basically, if you say back to your question, means we have to cultivate back the reading habit when they are still young.
Okay.
With true books.
Yeah. I've got one more question. Boleh?
Boleh, can.
Yeah. So this goes back to reading, and as much as I know, or little of I know of Karangkraf, you all have started to publish in English. Yeah. For the longest time, it's always been Bahasa Malaysia. But I believe was it about 5 years ago?
No, actually we just
recently. Okay. Sinar Daily through
Sinar Daily.
Sinar Daily.
Okay.
But also I'm assuming with your books as well.
Yes.
Okay. So what was the thought process and why you're going into that, and how has it been so far with the English speaking audience? Yes.
Okay. Sinar Harian has been. We have been doing Sinar Harian for the past almost 20 years lah, 19 years plus, like I said. So we have always been with this Malay market. Means we really go to the ground, we understand the suara rakyat, what's happening, that sort of thing. But actually, why we started to do it Sinar Daily is because we want to tap to the Malays yang a bit higher class,
Okay.
higher in the English speaking Malays.
Yes,
The
yes.
English speaking Malays and also the non-Malays. So there are two groups here lah. And also there can be the foreigners who stay here, that sort of thing. Okay. I think because it's important to reach to this group as well, because sometimes these groups are the thinkers. You know, they think because mostly they are professionals. Yeah, because a lot of Malays feels that they are Malay but they don't want to speak Malay, you know,
okay.
yeah. So,
Yes, yes.
so that's why we have to do it the English
Macam kita
version.
punya podcast today.
Yeah,
kan?
yeah, yeah.
Kita bahasa Malaysia,
Actually,
but we're doing it in English.
Yes, exactly.
So,
So
that
we
is
have-
a greater reach. Yeah.
Yes, so that you get a greater reach. So you appeal to that group. So that's why I think in terms of our book division, our first 2 books will come out in this month.
Nice.
Yeah, because we know that now because Karangkraf for the mass market, for the Malay market, memang we actually we are we know the Malay market very well lah, basically. But we haven't touched this group, the English speaking Malay,
Right.
or even the non-Muslims, which we should go into that because it's a big market, you know. So instead of like, how come we cannot do? It's not that we cannot speak in English.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can speak in
Yes.
English, right? And it's just a matter of turning the editors and some of my editors, they are also graduates from overseas, or even if they go for local universities or ITM, they speak in English.
Yeah.
So we're like, why not? That's why I think we have to go like means expand our market. I think we have to expand our market, and so that through our readings, through our books and the Sinar Daily, so that we can have the bigger audience, a wider audience. Yeah.
So you've done with the True Sinar Daily, and now you're gonna
books.
True Books as well.
Yeah.
Okay, novels you mean?
We started with just general book.
Okay.
Tapi we are going to do novels and children books.
Okay,
Yeah.
children book.
Inshallah.
Okay, lovely.
All right.
Okay,
So,
Jess, anything else?
no, thank you, Puan Firdaus. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Yeah, and Faith, as always, it's always fun and interesting and inspiring speaking with you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else? Any last message you would like to share with the audience?
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank both of you, the beautiful commentator, or beautiful moderator. Dr. Jesrina and Dr. Leilanie, for having me here. And I hope some of my small stories will give a big impact to those of you out there. Yeah.
All right.
So, thank you everyone for watching Legacy in Motion. This was Group Chairman of Kumpulan Karangkraf, Puan Firdaus, who's also a Sunway alumni. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.